So this weekend, there was the SCG not Kaldheim, but online championship qualifier on Sunday, and there were some interesting adaptations to the decks and stuff. And I'm gonna eat on stream. I'm sorry, guys, but I got to. So we're gonna go over a couple of them. The first one that I want to go over is, so during the Swiss portion of the tournament, this mono white aggro with Snow and Exalted Book of Exalted Deeds, it finished at 8-0 in that portion. And let's see. So this guy had 3 buys throughout the tournament. Dafton Direct MTG is that's his handle on Twitter if you want to send him congratulations. He was awarded 3 buys. 2 of those probably from qualifiers. Let me check, see if I can pull that information over here. Oh, that's... Oh no. Alright. So yeah, he had 2 qualifier buys from earlier in the week and 1 buy in the top 16. Looks like he beat he beat everybody. So this is a solid list, guys. He even beat Rumty, who, by the look of it, looks like Rumty came in first in the top 8. Yeah, it doesn't look like Rumty ran into him again. So Rumty lost to this guy during the Swiss portion of the tournament, but they did not play each other during the top 8. And Dafton Direct looks like he lost to an Izzet control deck in the finals or quarterfinals. So let's look at this list real quick and see what he has built here. So he's running, looks pretty standard for a mono white aggro in best of 3 right now with a few changes. He's running 2 books of Exalted Deeds and an Allurist of the Dream Dens. That's not typically what you'll see in these mono white decks, although I think from now on you probably will start seeing this. He's got the possible Facehaven Exalted Deeds combo. But he's running 4 All Seed of Life's Bounty, 4 Giant Killers, 4 Safeless Saviors, 1 Shadow Spear, which I guess is for the mirror match, but it's good for anything that you've got to remove Indestructible from, or Hexproof. He's got 1 Draenith Magistrate main, the 4 Luminarch Aspirant, and 4 Season Hollowblades main. 4 Elite Spellbinders, 1 Maul of the Skyclave, 2 Search for Glory, I guess so that he can search up the Book of Exalted Deeds, or Faceless Haven maybe? Four Skyclave Apparition, and 1 Legion Angel. He's running 4 Faceless Haven and 19 Snow-Covered Lands, for a total of 23. And then his sideboard over here, he's running 2 Portable Holes, 2 Glass Caskets, 3 Legion Angels, another Draenith Magistrate, 2 Archons of Emeria for the just for shutting down multiple spells per turn. I've used this card before myself. 2 Redains for when he's running up against a snow match, I'm sure. 2 Archon of Absolution, which is great in the mirror match. And 1 Baneslayer Angel for those pesky dragon decks. So, what they try to do here is the All Seed of Life's Bounty is not a sacrificial part of this deck anymore. Not with Exalted Deeds. What it's doing is it's giving you a way. You put 3 counters on All Seed, and then you kind of let it ride, because that will trigger your Book of Exalted Deeds and lets you make those angels pretty much every turn. Lurrus of the Dream Den to get your small creatures back, and it has lifelink itself. It's a pretty good deck. I've played against it with my mono white and lost to it. So this is a really good deck. I would advise if you're trying to grind through to Mythic, mono white is a solid choice for grinding to Mythic. It's fast. It does have a few rares in it, like Giant Killer and Shadow Spear, which will be leaving shortly. Drannith Magistrate will also be rotating out. But the Luminarch Aspirant, it stays. The Elite Spellbinder stays. Maul the Skyclave stays. Search for Glory stays. Skyclave Apparition stays. The Book of Exalted Deeds stays. You're losing Lurrus. Legion Angel will stay legal. And Faceless Haven will stay legal. So, I mean, you're losing some good quality cards. But I think in the long run this deck will still be viable. There's some good replacements for Giant Killer and Drannith Magistrate. Like, they don't do the same thing that those cards are doing, but they take that mana slot and they bring something different to the deck's dimension. So if you're looking for a 1-2 that taps your guys down, we might find something similar to that in the Innistrad set coming up. But this deck will still be very viable. If you've been playing any of the Standard 2022, this deck is, or something similar to this deck. I mean, heck, they had to restrict Book of Exalted Deeds in 2022 Standard. That's how good this combo was. So you're going to see this combo a lot going forward in Standard. Alright, I've talked about this deck for about 8 minutes. So we're going to switch gears and talk about the guy who actually won this tournament this weekend, which is Rumty. You can follow him on Twitch at Rumty, and on Twitter at Rumty5. So let's look at what he brought to the table. And I actually played against Rumty yesterday while I was grinding for a little bit, so I got to experience this deck firsthand. I was playing a version of my friend, actually I was playing Altier's Dimir control deck when I ran into him. So Rumty had probably already faced this deck multiple times and knew how to play against me, and I was just learning Altier's Dimir control deck, which has done well throughout the season so far. He's won several of the preliminary qualifiers, and he came in 9th or 10th in the final standings. So Rumty is running 2 Blizzard Brawls in the main, 4 Swarm Chamblers, 4 Stone Coil Serpents, 2 Primal Mites, 2 Ram Throughs, 2 Ranger classes, 2 Scavenging Oozes, which kind of surprises me a little bit, but I just feel like there are better cards at the 2 slot than Scavenging Ooze, but it is a viable threat. So, I'm not the guy who won the tournament. He is. Werewolf Pack Leader, 2 of. And probably he's still running Scavenging Ooze because there's so much removal in the format right now. For Lovestroke Beast, which is probably still one of the best cards in Standard. For Kazandu Mammoths, 4 Gem Razors, and 3 Questing Beasts, with 2 Great Hinges. 20 Snow-Covered Forests, and 3 Faceless Havens. So what this deck is trying to do is it's just trying to get bodies on the table and just make them bigger than your, big bodies on the table, bigger than your aggro bodies, cheap enough that they can get underneath decks like Sultai Ultimatum, enough threats that they can keep putting pressure on the board to go through all of these control matchups. So it's a solid deck. Mono green is still very strong. So in the sideboard, he's running 2 Snakeskin Veils, 2 Garruk Harbingers, 3 Garruk Unleashed. This is a great card for adding trample to your guys. A Chainweb Arcaneer, 2 Shadow Spears, another Ran Through, 2 Weathered Runestones. This is an interesting choice. One Thrashing Brontodon, and 1 Vivian, Monsters Advocate. The Weathered Runestone is really like my only question on the sideboard here. I don't know if he's bringing it in against Sultai Ultimatum or maybe a counter to Lurrus and other cards that you can play from your graveyard. Because I don't think Weathered Runestone works against Sultai Ultimatum. I could be wrong. There's one of the ultimatums that the Weathered Runestone I know doesn't work against, because I had questioned a judge about it previously and gotten a ruling on how they interact with each other. But very good deck, very solid. He plays it very well. Random thing in my chat here. Sorry about that, fellas. Or peoples. So there's nothing real surprising in this list. It's a very solid list. Very consistent, it looks like. So this is the kind of list that you want to run for consistent draws, consistent answers, with the exception of something like maybe a super heavy control match, or in the case of the tournament, I believe Rumty lost to the mono white aggro that we covered earlier, and he could have lost that one simply because of the Exalted Deeds Faceless Haven was able to be triggered, and he just couldn't win that game because he doesn't have any form of land removal. And it would have just simply been a case of all he had to do was run him out of cards. So with the exception of going up against probably an unwinnable combo, this is as of this weekend and right now, this is the deck in Standard that has the best record overall, with an 11-1 total victories, and only lost to a mono white Exalted Deeds deck that went 9-1. So next I'm going to talk about, I'm going to take a short break and get me something to drink. But when I come back, we are going to talk about some of the other decks, some honorable mentions from this tournament, things that I found a little bit interesting, or things that we should still talk about and keep in the conversation.